oasis of possibilities in a world going crazy around you. And a lot of us don't just have our own personal interests at heart. A lot of us look at the world and we hurt for the world. A lot of us would like to see something different. A lot of us would like to see something greater. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I'd like you to know you're not alone. There are a lot of us that are waking up to that realization. And from my point of view, one of the things that can help institute that, help actualize that, help make that show up, is us getting to the place where we have enough sense of space and lightness that we can bring space and possibilities to any situation. Could you imagine what that would be like? Just right now. I mean, think about the last few days. How many things have been presented to you in your life where you kind of went, you get that twist in your guts and that sort of thing? Well, what if there are easy ways of changing it? That's what I'm interested in. And that's what I'm interested in gifting to people, is the awareness that it doesn't have to be so hard to change it. And the other thing that I would like to put into your awareness is that what we've sort of been taught is if we ever go to anger or we ever go to judgment or we ever are not perfect, basically, then we're somehow wrong, or there's something wrong with us as people. What if that's the biggest lie we've ever bought? What if there's actually nothing wrong with you? What if you're actually not nearly as messed up as you thought you were? Once again, what if everything you thought was a wrongness of you is actually a strongness of you? Or what if everything you've been told is a wrongness of you is actually a strongness of you? In my personal case, with the ADHD and the ADD and the OCD and the autism, and you go, autistic, you speak well for an autistic person. Yeah, well, I've actually learned to be present with that and recognize the gifts that are within that and allow myself not to try to control myself and put myself in a box. And so one of my questions for you would be, how many boxes do you try to put yourself into to try to live in this reality? And when I say this reality, I mean, we have this earth, this beautiful, amazing, gifting, contributory, kind, gentle and ferocious, generous planet with an energy that if we just put our feet on the grass, we can feel it contributing to us. And then we have the reality that people are choosing around it. One of the things we found in Access is that a reality gets created wherever two or more people align and agree on a point of view. In other words, if you say, hey, this is real, and somebody else goes, oh, that's real, well, guess what? Now it's real. What we have right now is billions of people aligning and agreeing with a similar reality, with a bunch of us, the seekers like you and me, who are desiring to change it and desiring something different and knowing that something different should be possible. And yet it looks like it just gets crazier and crazier and crazier. And there's almost this sense, I don't know, this is what I got to 20 years ago, this sense of hopelessness, not even with pandemic going on, okay? But this sense of hopelessness about what was and was not possible, and what I could and could not be, and what I could and could not do. And this sense also, how many of you have had the sense that no matter what you do, it's never enough? Well, those are points of view that we take. Those are points of view that we learn. And for every point of view that you take, for every judgment and decision or conclusion that you make, nothing can come into your reality that doesn't match that point of view. So if you decide, for example, it's impossible to change the world, that's what gets created in your world. If you decide it's tough to make money, guess what happens? Well, then it's tough to make money. Because here's the way it works. We start by growing up with mommy and daddy, and they have all kinds of points of view about all kinds of things, and we don't even think about it, but we pick up on those energetically. Because one of the other things about you that you may or may never have acknowledged is that you're highly energetically aware. So when you're a little kid and you come in, you're picking up energetically on the structures of their reality and then buying them as yours, because when you come in as a little kid, you're like, wow, how do they do it here? I had no idea. Okay, mommy, daddy, show me how. And then, of course, all kinds of other people influence us along the way also. So one of the questions I like to ask people is how much of what you consider real and true and not real and true did you buy from your mom before the age of 2, and did you buy from your dad before the age of 2? And everything that is, will you let it go now, please? Thank you. Okay, so now is that going to let it all go? Well, it'll start the process. And one of the things I would recommend that you do is write down the top 10 things that are limiting you, the points of view that limit you that you got from your mom. Let's say before, well, you could say before the age of 2 and then after the age of 2 if you wanted to, or just top 10 points of view that you have right now that are limiting you. And then, there's that ADHD thing I was talking about. So if you write down the top 10 things that are limiting you that you got from your mom, and then the top 10 things that are limiting you that you got from your dad, the reason you do that is because then look at those and go, okay, so if I didn't have that as a point of view, what would my point of view be? Because one of the greatest gifts that you can give the world is your awareness, or your point of view about something. That unique, weird, different point of view that is you, that is so different than anybody else has, that you've probably been made wrong for it your whole life. Have you ever noticed that even little kids pick on little kids that are different? And one of the things that I found with the seekers of the world is they're different. It's almost like they're a different friggin' species. Like they look at things differently, they see different possibilities, and then they present them to other people, and then they're usually made wrong for having a different point of view. But what I'd like to ask you is, what are the different points of view that you have that are not only wrong, but are a gift to the world? And if you started functioning more from that, if you started focusing more on that rather than I'm wrong and nobody likes me, or I'm wrong and I'm wrong and I'm wrong and I'm not doing enough and I can't do enough and I'll never do enough. If you started looking from this place of what if everything you've been thinking is a wrongness of you is actually a strongness of you, what else could emerge in your world right now? And what kind of a gift would that be, not only for your world, but for our world? See, we share this planet, as I know you know. And a lot of times, those of us that are seekers are given to looking out at the people that do the loudest yelling and the most hate and the most control and the most destruction of others. And we think that those are the people with the power. But what if they're not? What if it's just that we have sort of felt so disenfranchised, we have felt so different, and we have felt so wrong for being different, that we haven't been willing to sort of step up to the energetic plate and go, I am here, I am a citizen of this planet also, and I desire to create a kinder reality. I desire to create a reality of more possibilities. I desire to create a reality that ends the fight instead of perpetrates the fight. I desire to create a reality where everybody's difference is embraced. I desire to create a reality where it's about possibilities, not impossibilities, where it's about creating a sustainable living earth for at least the next 10,000 years, rather than the destruction of the earth within the next 10 years. See, if enough of us wake up and choose that, and you go, well, yeah, but I don't know that I can choose that. Well, if anything I'm saying makes you lighter, that's what's true for you. If anything I'm saying makes you lighter, you don't have to make some big statement. You don't have to, have a bar mitzvah or a baptism or whatever. All you got to do is go, okay, I'll have that. Are you aware of that? This is one of the other things that we have so confused, is the way to choose a completely different life is to go, I'll have that. And that's where it starts. I mean, look back over your life. How many things do you have in your life right now? Things, like things you get to be, that you saw somebody else have and you went, oh, I'll have that. Why am I not having it? See, if enough of us chose to go, okay, I'm going to create a lighter world and a lighter reality with every choice I make. A lot more of us that desire that, because let's face it, not everybody desires that. And guess what? That's okay. That doesn't mean we can't create it. It doesn't take everybody. What it takes is those of us who have a different awareness of possibilities to no longer give up on those possibilities. What it takes is those of us who have a different sense of what can be created, to be willing to ask for those creations to occur. See, the universe has infinite resources. And we know this, we've been told this. And so here's where this weird sort of dichotomy exists. This, what is that called? Where you have two realities. That's out of my head right now. But we have this weird dichotomy that exists because on the one hand, we know infinite possibilities should exist and do exist, and that the universe is benevolent. And on the other hand, we're like, well, if that's the case, then why does the world look the way it does? Well, it looks the way it does primarily because we've been buying that the world has to be this way, and that our job is to fight against it if we're going to create change. In actuality, my beautiful friends, when you fight against limitation, you are stuck in the limitation. What I would invite you to do, rather than fighting against the limitation, is actually ask for and choose more possibilities. Now, part of this conversation, it's like if we were in a class together and we had a few more hours together or a few more days together, I could extrapolate more on that. So I'm trying to give you a bit of an energy, or hopefully a lot of energy, of a different possibility so that it might work in your head so you can find out how this shows up for you. If we were in a class, I could go into this a lot more. So I just want to point this out, that I'm bringing this up. I can't quite follow it to completion just based on the time frame, because you probably don't want to watch me for the next 3 hours. So, but for those of us who desire a different and greater world, and when I say greater, I mean kinder, more inclusive, less judgment, more possibilities, more joy, more gratitude, more communion and connection with people, and more connection with the planet, more allowing the planet to actually tell us what it desires and requires, and us being willing to live with that. See, Einstein said every molecule has consciousness. Every molecule has consciousness. I want to say that one more time. Every molecule has consciousness. And guess what? Every molecule that has consciousness is connected, or aware of, I should say, and connected with every other molecule that has consciousness. And so I like to think of it like this. What if you were not either the drop or the ocean? What if you could simultaneously be aware of yourself as the drop and have that awareness, meaning you don't lose you, but also have the awareness of you as the entire ocean? That's the gift that consciousness gives us. One of the things that we have in Access Consciousness is a definition of consciousness. There are lots of people talking about consciousness right now, and I'd like to give you a real easy, simple definition of it. It's where everyone and everything exists, and no one and nothing is judged. One more time, where everyone and everything exists, and no one and nothing is judged. Which means that the idea of this is right and this is wrong puts us into the polarity and the polarized point of view. We have a different choice. We can function from not this is right or this is wrong, but because we think what we want to do is we want to do all the right stuff. And unfortunately, what that does, that leads to a world of judgment. And it leads to us judging ourselves continuously, because let's face it, how many of us do enough right stuff? How many of us feel like we're right, and how many of us feel like we're wrong? What I found in working with hundreds of thousands of people around the world is most of them feel wrong most of the time. And so it's an interesting thing to work with them and see them actually come out of that to where they go, oh my goodness, you mean I'm not wrong? And I'm like, no, you never were. It's just the reality we live in that teaches you that if you're different, you're wrong, but also that teaches you if you don't judge appropriately, you're not going to get anywhere. This is one of the biggest lies that we've ever bought. Our judgments are killing us. And those of us that are seekers have had this thing where we're trying to judge appropriately, even though it's not our nature. So everything you've done to make believe that judgment is your nature, which means you get to continuously judge you, and believe that the rightness, in other words, to bring what you desire to bring to the world, that you have to judge what is wrong and only do what is right. But if you're doing that, you're living this reality's most limited version of what's possible, and you don't actually have possibilities, because if it's not right, you can't choose it. But how do you know right from wrong? All of that gets processed through your mind and your thoughts, feelings, emotions, and judgments, And if you actually have an awareness of something beyond current reality, there's no way to judge it as right or wrong. It just is because it hasn't existed before. And if you could recognize and let go of the judgment of the right or wrong, then you could have the possibilities that exist beyond the current reality we're living. And then living gets really friggin' awesome. And if I could invite you to one thing, it would be really friggin' awesome living. Like, imagine what it would be like to wake up and be joyful, even in the middle of a pandemic. I know thousands upon thousands of people who have, and it's a matter of shifting the mindset, but also having the tools when insanity has you in its grips. So, I guess what I'm saying is, there is a possibility to live with a sense of ease, a sense of joy, a sense of gratitude for being alive, no matter what seems to be going on around you. And also that you have different choices and different possibilities available than maybe anybody else around you. And I guess the question would be, are you choosing those? And if not, what would it take for you to know that you could? From my point of view, now is the time. One of the things that I've seen over many, many, many years is from the greatest sense of turmoil, challenge, and difficulty, often that occurs right before the greatest sense of possibilities. And what if that's what we're experiencing right now? What if this is a wake-up call? What's going on in the world and what went on in the world in 2020 and is continuing in 2021 is actually a wake-up call for those of us who have a capacity to create something different. That is the possibility I'd like to invite you to. Because when you know it's possible, you start heading in the direction of creating that. Excuse me, I got a little frog in my throat. Okay, so when you know it's possible, you start heading in the direction of creating that. And let me talk about creation for one quick second here, and then I'd like to do a little energetic exploration with you, if you'd be up for that. So when you know it's possible, you start heading in the direction of creating that. And let me talk about creation for one quick moment here and how it actually works, because most of us have been taught a lot of things that don't tend to work very well to create what we desire as our lives in the world. Another frog in my throat. Okay, so let's talk about creation. So creation occurs the moment you ask for something different. And you go, what? Well, in Access Consciousness, we've been exploring creation for a very long time, and what it actually is, and how to get people to their natural capacities to create that they've long since buried. And so realize that there's creation, there's institution, and then there's actualization. Now, a lot of people have talked about manifestation. Manifestation is how something shows up, not that it shows up. Actualization is it showing up. And so I know a lot of people say, well, that's just semantics, except behind the word manifestation, and it's a valid word to use when it's appropriate, is a whole universe of energy about what that means and what that is. And behind the word actualization is a whole different universe. And what happens is, if you're using the word manifestation over and over and over, it's about how it shows up, not that it shows up. And so you're saying, I'd like to manifest this. You're saying, I'd like to how this shows up this. Which the universe kind of looks at you and goes, not exactly how it works. And I don't mean to step on any toes when I say this. Please know this is not a judgment or not a judgmental place I'm coming from. It's a place of, if you can get more succinct energetically with the energetics of what actually occurs and what actually creates, then you have more ease. It's like using a laser cutter versus, a dull knife. And then you can actually create the result with much more precision. And let's face it, why wouldn't we want more ease in creating our lives? So that's my target, is to do everything I can to give you more ease in creating the life and living that you would truly like to have, because you may not realize it, but all those dreams you have, all those desires, all those aspirations, those are a gift that you bring to this world. And to not have the tools to actualize them and have them show up is a travesty. It's like having a brilliant heart surgeon who has bricks on his hands or her hands. You know, it's like, you're this amazing gift to the world, and yet it doesn't show up that way. So let's talk about creation really quickly, which is basically creation begins the moment you ask for something. But here's the way it works, and we need to recognize this. The moment you ask, the universe goes into motion to transform the universe. And I do mean the universe because, once again, you're an infinite being. What is infinite? Really, really, really big, meaning connected every molecule in the universe, which is like, okay, you can't figure that out mentally. But when you ask, and you have a wholehearted ask and a willingness to actually have it, the universe starts to rearrange itself to make that happen. But here's the thing, you'll ask for something today, and if it doesn't show up tomorrow, then you judge you and go into that place of, see, it's not happening still. How many times have you asked for something and been disappointed or judged you or judged the universe at large for not giving you what you desire when it doesn't show up immediately? Let me tell you why you probably have that. Well, let me tell you why you have that. Maybe that's a more accurate statement. Because you know somewhere you should be able to instantaneously actualize. So if you're asking for something, one of the things you might want to ask for that might shortcut the journey between ask and receive, because we all know ask and receive actually works, right? And my point of view is they hid it in the Bible so nobody would believe that it works. Okay, that was supposed to be a joke. I hope you're laughing. Or maybe you're just kind of sad because it's too true, okay? Ask and you shall receive is actually how the universe functions. And so, but we know somewhere we should be able to ask right now and instantaneously have it show up, but it's not quite the mechanics of the world we're living in right now. So what happens is you ask here, and then different things have to change in order for that to show up for you. And so if we recognize that, then we don't make ourselves wrong when we ask today and it doesn't show up tomorrow or doesn't show up in a week or doesn't show up in a month. We realize that once I've wholeheartedly asked and I'm congruent with receiving it, then I will have it. Could you imagine having that level of certainty? And I know that may be a stretch, and I do get it. And when I first started exploring this with Access, it was a stretch for me too. And now, though, it's how I live my life and how I see a lot of other people living their lives. We know that when we ask, we're going to receive. But here's the thing. Your point of view creates your reality. Reality does not create your point of view. So when you have the point of view that I'm going to have to do this and this and this and this and this, you go, if I haven't done this and this and this and this and this, then it can't show up because I haven't done this and this and this and this. And the universe is going, actually, if you didn't have that point of view, it could just show up. So, how many points of view do you have about everything you're going to have to do, everything you're going to have to change, and everything you're going to have to be for what you actually desire? Do me a favor, write down the top 5 things that you desire to change in your life right now that haven't yet shown up. Okay? And now here's where the creation comes in. Maybe you want to stop the video for a moment and write down those 5 things. Or if you're like me, you're just going to not stop the video and not write them down, and we'll just keep going because, let's face it, that's how we are. And what if that's not wrong either? What if that's actually maybe even right? What if that's actually even appropriate? So I just asked you to write down 5 things. Now, here's the thing. You're so fast energetically, and we keep thinking we're not, but you are so fast energetically that through your mind went at least 2 to 5 of those things, okay? So now here's what I'd like you to do. I really would like you at some point to write down the 5 things. But let's take the top thing right now that in your life has to change. Here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to get the way it would be if that thing changed. So let's say you're dealing with a money situation, or let's say you're dealing with fear and doubt, okay? I'd like you to get the sense, even for a millisecond, of the way it would be if that disappeared as the problem that it currently is today. Get the sense of waking up with total ease with money and get the sense of the way it would be to easily pay your bills. And not only that, maybe to travel the way you would like to, or do the classes you would like to, and do the stuff you would like to that would make your life wonderful and happy and awesome. Or if it's the fear and doubt thing, get the sense of having total peace no matter what goes on in the world around you. And I have a tool for helping you create that, which I'll give you in just a moment. Just get the sense of that energetically. And all it takes is a moment of getting the sense. And then what you do is you say, hey, universe, I'm asking for this. Hey, consciousness, I'm asking for this. Hey, me, I'm asking for this. As an acknowledgement of your ask. Because we have so many asks. I mean, think about it. How many times in your life have you desired something and you just kind of went like, yeah, I'd like that. And then a month later, 6 months later, it showed up and you were like, I didn't even do any work for that. How did that happen? Well, that's part of the magic that you are. Could you imagine what it would be like, just for a moment, if way more of your life started showing up magically like that? I can. That's kind of why I do what I do in the world, so that becomes a possibility for people. So, with that awareness, what I'd like you to do is just get the sense of what it would be like to wake up with that, live with that, and have that. Acknowledge to you, the universe and consciousness, you're asking for it. And now ask, hey universe, hey consciousness, hey, everything that is from consciousness, from the highest and the greatest, that will contribute to me in having this, I'm willing to receive it. And now, everything that doesn't allow it, will you let all of that go, please? Thank you. Okay, now we have this thing called a clearing statement that is a way of changing those things. Like when I say, will you let that go? It's beyond the scope of my time frame here right now, okay? But you can go to theclearingstatement.com if you want to learn it. It's free. It's my gift to you. But it's a way, it's sort of a way of changing where you have a limited point of view so that you don't have to have it anymore. It puts the consciousness that you are beyond your mind to work to undo your limitations with total ease, may I say. So now that you recognize that you got the sense of it, you got the energy for it, and you asked for it, now anything that feels like that energy, the energy of having that peace, the energy of having that ease with money, do it, even if it makes no logical sense. What you've just given yourself, if you do that, is an energy that you can follow that will guide you to those doors the universe is opening for what you desire to create. That's actually one of the easiest forms of creation that exists. Look at what you'd like to have, get the sense of having it and being it, like get the energy of it, get the space of it, get the way it would be to live it. You only need it for a moment though. We don't need to sit and meditate on it and ponder it and all that. All of that is us trying to make it happen, believing that we have to overcome a malevolent universe that is set up against us. This is actually, what I'm talking about is using the power of the benevolent universe that is actually the universe in which we live, regardless of how this reality tries to make it look. So what you do is get the sense of that energy, and then anything that feels like that energy, go and do it. One of the things I would highly suggest is I asked you to write down the top 5 things you would like to change. Well, I would like you to write down your top 5 to 10 asks, whatever they are, and just shorthand for whatever they are. Ask for them, do this process with it, get the sense of it showing up, even if you have no idea, and especially if you have no idea the way it's going to show up, okay? Because we actually create magically, which is, you're like, what? That's not my life. I know, it wasn't mine either, until I started actually doing this and using this. You actually create magically, which means ask and receive, and you don't have to know the mean, the method, or the modality for it to show up. So everything you've done to believe that if you don't know the means, the methods, or the modalities, that you can't create it, will you let that go now, please? Thank you. Okay, so I am going close to overtime here. So what I'd like to do with you in the next couple of moments here is I'd like to do something with you that is known as the energetic synthesis of communion. It's something that I've done with people all around the world, and it works on telecalls, it works in person, it works with a combination of both. What I'd like you to do right now is just take a moment and close your eyes, please, if you can. I mean, not physically, but as long as you're not driving or something, you know, like that kind of thing. Take a deep breath in from the top of your head down to the tips of those cute, sweet, adorable little toes of yours. And one more deep breath in from the top of your head down to the tips of those cute, sweet, adorable little toes. Just feeling your toes and noticing your body. And I'm going to ask you to lower the walls and barriers and just let this energy in. And there will be moments of silence during this. What I'd like you to do is ponder a time in your life, or maybe some other lifetime, where you believed in magic, where you believed in ask and you shall receive. And what I'd like you to do right now is just ask for that to be your world and your reality again. And I'm going to ask you to lower the walls and barriers that you use to try to keep the world out. And believe me, I understand it, because it seems like so much of what we receive is the judgment and the harshness and the doubt and the fear and the hatred and the anger. But you know what? There's a whole other aspect of the world that we together can receive. And it actually involves us. There's a whole other aspect of possibilities beyond current reality. Lightness, joy, space, gratitude, brilliance, yumminess, awesomeness. That's there too. It just gets drowned out by those really loud voices of the fear and the distress and the sadness and the anger and the yuck. So many people have aligned and agreed with, or resisted and reacted to. It's our alignment and agreement and resistance and reaction that kills us. So now though, but what if you could be present with all of those energies? Because what we try to do, because we know there's a different possibility available, what we tend to try to do is to try to shut out everything that's bad and only have that which is good. But if you tap into and ask this infinite universe and consciousness itself, or whatever you know that to be for you, there's so many venues and so many names that we call it. None of those are wrong. If it makes you lighter and happier and a happier person, none of that is wrong. But what I'd like you to do is ask whatever that is that you know is sort of a source of more lightness and possibilities. For me, it's consciousness or the universe. For you, it may be God or spirit or whatever that is. Ask it, is there any such thing as good energy or bad energy? Or is it all just energy? You may or may not be willing to receive the awareness you get from that question. But if you, like I do, got the awareness, it's all just energy. See, 20 years ago, I had so many points of view about what was good energy and what was bad energy. I was an expert in it. And I spent my life trying to avoid the bad energy and trying to have more good energy. But in that, I was functioning from such a level of polarity that I was continuously stuck in the polarity, even when I was trying to choose what was good. And what I realized was that from the universe's point of view, it's all just energy. So everything you've been doing to try to shut out the bad and only have the good, which forces you into a state of judgment continuously to try to maintain that. Will you let some part of that go now, please? Thank you. The other choice is to be interesting point of view about every energy. When you're being interesting point of view, you are like the rock in the stream. All of these thoughts and feelings and emotions and attitudes and beliefs and judgments and fear and doubt come at you, and they just go around you. It is actually possible to live that way. I know many, 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 many people that do. And so can you. It's not rocket science, it's just choice. So one of the gifts that you can give yourself is if there's some upset in your world right now, or some upset that's been there for a while and you haven't been able to dislodge it. What I'd like you to do, and this will be a gift to our planet too, And there's so many other things I'd love to talk to you about. There's so many more hundreds of tools and perspectives I'd love to share with you. But let's do this one for right now. What I'd like you to do is I'd like you to get that energy, wherever it is, because you can feel it in your body a lot of times, or maybe you perceive it outside of you, if that's a form of your energetic awareness. Just get that energy and say to it. Just get it and don't resist it. Don't fight it, because fighting it sticks you with it. Remember, what you resist persists. They say that because what you resist persists. So this is a way of going beyond it, going beyond the resistance and the reaction, going beyond the fight. So get that energy rather than resisting it, and just say, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. See, for a lot of you, it's already shifting. How cool is that? And again, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. And I'm saying point of view, P-O-V, okay? And one more time, interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. Interesting point of view. I have this point of view. What happened? And you can keep your eyes closed or open, whatever works for you. Most people, it starts melting, even if just a little bit, but even a little bit of melt, even a little bit of change, can again give us access to us, can give us access to the space of us, because when you're being you, you have space. You have a sense of ease, you have a sense of lightness, you have a sense of possibilities, and you have a sense of joy. So, my beautiful friends, lastly, what I'd like you to do is ask the earth, what do you desire? And earth, what contribution can I be to you? And everything that's been done to separate your body from the earth and its rhythms, everything you've done to separate you from the earth and its rhythms, and everything that's been done to separate you and your body and the earth from each other, will you let that go now, please? Thank you. And just ask one more time, earth, what do you desire? And earth, what contribution can I be to you? What contribution can my body be to you that I've never acknowledged? And one of the things that I notice when I ask, earth, what do you desire? There's this sense of a future that is possible. And also, though, this sense of ending the fight, like no longer needing to create a fight. Wow. What a world the earth knows is possible, if we would only ask it more. And then when I ask earth, what can I contribute to you? 99 times out of 100, there's an energy that fills me, like the earth is saying, hey, what you can contribute is actually receiving from me. I'm here, I would just like to gift you some yumminess, some ease, some joy. Because with more of us walking around being happy, ease-filled, and joyful, the earth thrives. You know, they've done so many studies and found that when you direct anger at a plant or write angry words on water, we all know about this, the plant dies, the water is disfigured. What do you think it does to have 8 billion people going around in judgment and wrongness and rightness and fight on our planet? The planet desires us to live as the lightness, to live as the joy, to actually create lives that we love. What if we recognize that and allow that to be our reality too? Everything that doesn't allow it, will you let that go, please? Okay, my beautiful friends, please take one more deep breath in from the top of your head down to the tips of those cute, sweet, adorable little toes of yours. Thanking your beautiful body for being the gift that it is. Thanking the earth for being the contribution that it is. And what if you could walk around with a lot more of this space? I hope this conversation has been a contribution to you. I'm truly honored to be invited to provide this to you, and very grateful for you and to you for watching, for listening, for receiving. And I'm extremely grateful to you for being the seeker that you are. You, my beautiful friends, are the gift of possibilities in this world. And what if you, truly being you, beyond the fight, beyond the wrong, beyond the right, with a sense of possibilities that is greater than most can perceive, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires. You are, and I thank you for being in the world. See you soon. Bye-bye.